Okay, so a lot of you liked last video, which is fantastic news for my channel and really, really good for the community. And the fact that all of you guys came up with different ideas on how I could improve the session and make the one shot a little bit better. And just the overall like positive reinforcement that I received, even though I made a mistake, is extremely huge. And I very much appreciate all of you for all of the work that you put into writing your comments and just watching the video and sharing it with your friends. And all of it is just very much appreciated. What I did notice, however, is one thing that I feel like I could give to the community, and that's all of my mistakes. All of the things that I continue to do that are mistakes as a DM, as a player, and all these kind of things, so that you don't feel afraid to make them, so that you can try whatever you want to try to make whatever game you want to make. I find that a really good way for us to continue this conversation is through the mistakes that I made by just making an entire thing about content and not actually like thinking about the combat at all or the rest of the world. And one of the other mistakes that I've made super commonly is just not making the proper style of combat, not making a combat that one, thematically makes sense, and two, is also kind of competitive for your players. Because if you only have one dragon that seems kind of hardcore and powerful, but you have 4 PCs, you're gonna lose. And like, not that you should try and team kill your entire party right off the gate, but you should make it a challenge. You should make it feel like they earned something, because if you're going to give them the dragon's hoard, or you're going to give them something at the end, a magic item or whatever have you, they should earn it. Really should earn it. And it should be one of those things where sometimes they go down, or they have to waste all of their slots and they're getting towards the edge, and then they finally get the last hit, and it was the warlock that hit it with its staff because it's out of spell slots and cantrips are too close and at disadvantage, and it should feel earned. And that is one thing that I've definitely struggled with, except for one time, and I want to show you that encounter so that you can kind of understand where I'm coming from. So the first thing I want to show off right off the bat here is the fact that the encounter summary and the encounter calculator, the CR calculator that everybody loves to use, is labeling this as a deadly encounter, when in reality my team did very, very well in defeating this encounter that I created. And we'll go into why I created this session this specific way and things like that. But this encounter in the CR rating scale looks to be deadly, but in reality, when you have skilled enough players and when you have, you know, a way to get certain people out of it or allow for their creativity, this becomes maybe a hard encounter. And so you have to remember that any level of creativity that your players are going to have, allow this to immediately change the encounter's CR rating or CR difficulty. Because at the end of the day, these calculators are just kind of a baseline for, hey, don't fucking kill your PCs for like no reason, but also give you a good guideline as to, you know, where to strike a balance. At the end of the day, though, these aren't perfect hard and fast rules. These are suggestions, and I feel like that's one thing that when I first started creating encounters, was incredibly important to understand, and I didn't. And so this is the first mistake I would tell you to avoid, is just realizing that CR calculators are suggestions and not hard and fast rules. So I like to think of creating an encounter in a couple of different ways, and I think each has its own strategy and each has its own importance. And so the first thing that I want to say is having multiple little minions to go along with your boss. And even if your boss is already ticking that deadly rating in the CR calculator, giving yourself a couple of CR 1/4, 1/2, 1 enemies will allow you to have a little bit of something to bring attention away from your main boss, in this case the Burhag, to make it so that your Burhag has a little bit more room to maneuver and things to do. Because if the Barbarian just walks straight up towards your Burhag, it's going to take, I mean, if we look at her armor class, it's an 18. Most of the time, Barbarians and Fighters are hitting at 22, 24, 26 every time they roll a damage die. So you're going to get hit every time. And even if you have like 120 health, like I actually rolled HP on this and I got like 120. And it's important to potentially roll health and eliminate and distract and keep things away and keep things spread out so that you just don't become the main event. And that's the one thing that you want to do for your main boss or the main big bad in the fight, is make sure that attention can be taken away from them so they can actually do the cool things that they're able to do, like having a gray staff for magic and being able to fly all over the place, controlling weather, their spell casting, whether it's Cone of Cold or Wall of Ice. You want them to be able to be like the main master strategist of your actual encounter, So you've got to give them the opportunity to maneuver around, and that's what the Neil Bog and the Quickling here are doing. Is they're giving out, like, they don't have that much HP. If even if I rolled it, we're looking at 12 plus 5, so 15 max HP, but they're rolling out a d4 plus 6 of damage every time they go in with their dagger, and they have a plus 8 to hit. They're super fast. Their speed is 120 feet. Like, it's giving them an ability to be like, okay, hey, tink, and they can attack 3 dagger attacks at a time, so it's not like they're dealing insignificant damage. So it's something that's forcing you to have to pay some attention to it, so it wastes their action economy on something other than your main boss. And the Neil Bog is interesting because not only does it have an ability to like clonk something on the head with its scepter, but it also has a little bit of spellcasting in Mage Hand and Tasha's Hideous Laughter, so they can have a little bit of range, and it can also incapacitate some of the PCs so that they can go on and have to strategize around that in the fight and eliminate a lot of issues that players continue to have and DMs continue to have, like having one main big bad boss and, oh no, it's deadly, so this is the only thing that I can put in the encounter. So overall, one thing I would say is I would strategize to not only have your main big bad, but I would make it so that they have the action economy necessary to do all of the cool, fun things that are in their sheets. You want them to be able to cast all their spells. You want them to use their legendary actions. You want them to be able to use an action, a bonus action, being completely unimpeded for a good portion of the fight until they've taken out all of your little CR1, CR2, CR quarter, CR hats. You know, you want them to take out the minions first and then focus all of their attention so that the main boss has something to do. And I think that's extremely important. And you also have to remember that your player parties are going to be so diverse in what they're capable of doing. They can really stretch the field of play and they can stretch the field of battle in multiple different ways. So you have to be able to account for that. And I'm not saying you have to target one specific PC and say they can't be in the fight, or they're always going to get held person, or they're going to get XYZ. It's just, okay, I know that they can do this, so I have to have something that can counter that. If they're a ranged spellcaster, I have to have a ranged goblin with an arrow. I have to have something that can incapacitate them, like Tasha's Hideous Laughter. I have to have a Quickling that can come in at 120 feet and close that gap. I have to have abilities in order to negate a lot of the effects that your players can do, so it feels like a fight that they earned. And I think this is one of the main things that I had to learn very quickly as a DM, because I just had all of my battles, which again, I tend to form my entire one-shot around, end super quickly. And if I don't have a good rich story underneath it to just, okay, you did great, now you're gods, how do we figure this out, I can use a little bit more strategy in the combat to kind of kill a little bit of time if you don't have that great of a story, or the RP at the table wasn't really great that day. This allows you to make a combat a very good and enticing thing to re-engage your party. And I think this is extremely important. Let me know what you guys think about the things that I talked about today, and hopefully this helped you. Again, I have made a lot of mistakes, so please learn from mine. If there's anything that you do here, please learn from my mistakes. Because if you don't, I don't know what we're doing here. But again, thank you guys so much for the reaction that you had to the last video. Like and subscribe to this channel if you want to see more of what I'm talking about, learn from my mistakes and all that kind of jazz. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Okay, bye.